Warhammer Dad is the bestest thing in the world. Now, when you set up your runes, the first thing you need to consider is the area footprint. This should be agreed upon with your opponent before the battle starts. Now, the easiest way to mark out the area footprint is either using other walls or containers, barrels, stones, perhaps bits of lichen and grass greenery. Or if you have it pre-made, you could use a custom board on the rune, and that helps you to identify where models will be counted on or off the base. Now, the second thing to consider is the height. If a model is over 5 inches in height, so if a rune is over 5 inches in height, it counts as obscuring. Now, these buildings get some amazing traits. They are scalable, breachable, light cover, defensible, and obscuring. That seems like a lot. However, once you get to know them, it does make sense. The first trait is obscuring. If a unit is trying to target another unit that is behind a rune that is over 5 inches in height, it counts as being obscured. This means that you cannot target that unit. Even if you can see through the windows and the gaps in the rune, as long as it is not on the footprint, as it's not on the rune, it cannot be targeted. The building is blocking its line of sight. If a unit is half in and half out of the terrain, then it can be targetable by the Sisters of Battle here. This is because it no longer receives the benefit of obscuring because it is not wholly behind the terrain feature. However, if the building is less than 5 inches in height, then you can shoot through it and target the enemy, provided that you can see them. Now, this does have a caveat, and that is if your model has 18 wounds or more, or if it is a flyer, it cannot benefit from the obscuring keyword. This Tesseract Vault is behind the rune, and despite having access to the obscuring keyword, because it has more than 18 wounds, it can be targeted by the Adeptosaurus. So these girls can actually unleash their melter guns and bolters on the target, provided they can see it through the windows, doors, or through the side of the train, etc. The same thing goes for this flyer. Despite being obscured, because it has the flyer keyword, this Death Scythe cannot be protected from the Sisters of Battle. However, large models, such as this Reanimator, which have less than 18 wounds, can be obscured, provided they are not on the base itself. One small thing to remember of obscuring is that it doesn't matter what part of the rune you are passing your line of sight over. If you have to go over any part of the rune and that rune at any point is over 5 inches, you are not able to target them. They cannot be seen. So even though it looks a little bit sneaky, like this Necron Warrior can see the Adeptosaurus hiding there down the backfield, because she is behind the rune and he is trying to target her, she cannot be shot at. The rune obscures the line of sight. Same thing goes through the window. The warrior can see the sister just about through the window, but because she's behind the terrain feature, she gets the benefit of obscuring. Runes also have the breachable keyword. This means that if you have a beast, an infantry, or a swarm model, they can pass through that rune as if it isn't actually there. This is very handy for getting surprise attack or to get into charge range of your opponent. Very handy and very, very sneaky. Now the beast, the infantry and the swarm have completed their normal move, and now they've passed through the rune and they are further up the battlefield. Scalable. Runes count as being scalable. This means that if you are a beast, infantry or swarm, or have the fly keyword, then you can actually move up the rune and end up on a higher level, possibly on the top. Now the way you use this is you use your movement characteristic to go vertically upwards, so in this case of say 3 inches higher up, to reach the next platform. By using the scalable keyword, these models have now managed to pass up to the next level. Now, because of it's scalable, it means that they are able to pass through the floors, the ceilings, etc. as if they are not there. They scramble through and they make their way higher up. Units that cannot scale the heights of the ruins though include vehicles, bikes, and items such as titanic units, etc. or monsters. these units are unfortunately unable to climb to the next level. Runes also have the often forgotten defensible keyword. This means that if the unit is charged while they are wholly within the rune, as in you have to be entirely on its base, they can declare one of two different things, or to hold steady if they are charged by an enemy unit. As you can see from the dice roll, these raves are about to have a bad day. Normally, Overwatch, when you play your strategy for 1 CP, would hit on 6s. However, hold steady means you can now Overwatch on a 5+. Therefore, these raves have now been hit 6 times rather than what it would have been 3 times. These Necron raves have chosen to fly in to combat and have managed to kill one of the Adeptus. However, they're getting a little bit cocky. They didn't realise that these Adeptus have set to defend. Set to defend means that you cannot Overwatch. However, because of the defensible nature of terrain, means that when you finally get to fight back in the next fight phase, you get to add +1 to your attack. So these Sisters of Battle will be able to attack back on 2s instead of 3s. However, this only counts for the next fight phase. It doesn't count for any other fight phase afterwards, unless they come out of combat and are charged again. The next trait provided by runes is light cover. Light cover means that any models that are within the footprint of the terrain get +1 to their save from enemy shooting attacks. Now, this means that those 3 models who are within the footprint will get a save here of 2+. However, those models behind the ruin will not get the extra benefit of cover. Please bear in mind that that +1 to save does not count when units are in hand-to-hand combat. Additionally, that +1 to save does not count towards invulnerable saves. You cannot increase an invulnerable save by using a terrain feature. So here endeth our fun with ruins today, but let's quickly summarise what we have discovered. 1. They are scalable. That means if your infantry beast swarm or you have the fly keyword, you can use your movement characteristic to go up to the next level of the ruin. They are breachable. That means if you have infantry beast or swarm, you can pass through the ruin using your movement characteristic if it isn't there. This is fantastic if you want to be able to just get that sneaky charge off on your unsuspecting enemy who wasn't prepared for such a dastardly move. They are obscuring, which means that if you are behind the ruin and you do not have the fly keyword and you have less than 18 wounds, you cannot be targeted. It doesn't matter how high that part of the ruin is, as long as one part of the ruin is at least 5 inches, every single part of the ruin counts as obscuring. Ruins also are able to offer you light cover bonuses. So, if you have been targeted by enemy shooting and your models are within the area footprint of the terrain, then you are able to get +1 to your save. However, this does not affect invulnerable saves. They cannot be increased. Finally, you have defensible. So if the enemy gets off that sneaky charge and your unit is wholly within the terrain feature, you can either get the +1 to your Overwatch, so you can Overwatch on a 5, or you can give up the opportunity to Overwatch and you can get +1 when you hit back in the next fight phase. So, ruins are fun. Hopefully one day the Imperium can rebuild and all our Necron and Adeptus characters can high-five in peace and harmony. Thank you. Warhammer Dad is the bestest thing in the world.